In today's assignment, you'll see that there is 3 slides because you have 3 topics. Now, there is nothing wrong with you taking this first slide and actually putting it, copying and pasting it into this slideshow and putting it as your first slide. That'd be really awesome if you did that. But I'm not going to get too critical on that. So, on this slideshow, on this first point, again, you're going to put, and it may seem redundant, but welcome to the world of filling out forms. There will be times you will fill out the same thing over and over again. Salem witch trials, and then your point, your reason one, your main point that you had on this first slide is what you're going to be planning first, which is the causes of the Salem witch trials. Now, I have defending details here. There's a couple of ways you can go with this. In the case of this, I'm going to stay very general with my topic. I think it's better if you do that. Some students will actually put details in of things that actually happened. In my case, I'm looking more at ideas. So, in this case, my possible discussion topics, which may morph as I write, but at least I have a plan, is the roles of women in Puritan society. Many of the women that were persecuted were very strong-willed, very outspoken women, women who had knowledge of herbs and medicines, how to make medicines, which men didn't understand. So there was a general fear with that. Midwives. So the roles of women in society and the persecution thereof. Another detail would be the religious control of government that the Puritans had. So the Puritans had almost a theocracy. They did have a government that was in theory separate from the religious, the church, but really it wasn't. It functioned as a theocracy. And so these ideas of accusing people as witchcraft, having trials and persecuting them and criminally punishing them for religious reasons was often done. So the religious control of government was a serious issue, and our founding forefathers became quite concerned based on these events in history. And finally, Puritan struggles to live in the New World. Puritans were urban people. They lived in big cities. They lived in London. Then they moved the Netherlands to the big cities, I think it was. I may be wrong about that. Anyway, they moved from city to city. And then they finally went to the New World, and they were in this wild place that was very hard to live in. And so they were very frightened to live, and their fear of or for their survival. So now I have planned out 3 things I can talk about within my section 1. And that's how we're going to get the longer essay. Once you've done the first slide, I want you to submit this. Unless you really, if you know what you're doing and you're on your game and you want to plan out the whole thing at once, you can do that. But once you get your first one done, you can submit that today, and I need to be able to see it today or in the morning, and you can, I can look over it and make sure you're on track before you do the rest of your planning, which is my goal for you. Once you've planned this out, I'm ready to start writing this section. So you'll be able to look at the next assignment where you can start composing your part 1. Part 1 has guidelines. There's a guideline sheet in that assignment you need to look at. It gives you the font size, the font type, the spacing, and all the other guidelines you have to have. You're going to have your sentence constructions in there as well. And you're going to have to quote so many of your sources. So, there we are. Because after all, wherever we're at, there we are. If you have questions, you can talk to me in class or email me.